Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness. I want to just drop into a little flow with my higher guidance team, in which I just go into my heart space, drop into my body, expand my consciousness out into the field that we all exist within and through, and allow some of the energies, frequencies, messages to come through from our higher guides. So welcome. Thanks for tuning in. And so this channeled flow is a flow. It is a waveform conduction, if you will. It is an access point, or dropping into this conductive space allows for an access point to be connected into. And once we drop into this connection point, this axis, if you will, it gives us an access to more of what is already within me and you. It allows us to tune into a deeper, I'm hearing vesicle, and this is a play of words. It allows us to tune into a deeper sense of prose, and it allows us to weigh out or to get rid of that which weighs on our hearts. It allows us to weigh out the pros and cons, if you will, of some of our life questions. And you would think it is simple, and in some ways it is very easy. In other ways, it is difficult to tune in this way because we are oftentimes doing things the hard way. We look for things that are not so easy. We think life isn't so easy. And while this is true, of course, this is a different course to take. This is a different application to life. And we might invite those who are open to this to tune into your own application, to apply, if you will, thyself, to know thyself, to tune into what it is that we are tuned into from, that which it is we are already attuned to, and to attune more into this frequency and energy that flows through all of you. For this is a resource. And many of us are overlooking our resources, thinking we are never heard or never seen. Some of us feel as if no one is ever listening. And we would invite you to say this is so not true, if you will. There is so much around us that is always tuned into us, that is listening, for the energy that is around us is robust, play on words. There is a frequency that moves through us, and we must find trust in ourselves in order to hear ourselves, in order to hear what is being tuned out sometimes. Or we could say that oftentimes what we are tuning into is tuning out that which is the deeper essence of that which is the fluorescence, one might say, the essence of spirit, the energy and frequency that moves through all things. For it is a consistency that allows us to tune into these things. It is practice sometimes. And we would invite you to practice being in the heart so that you can start really hearing what is being sung, if you will, on your heartstrings, what is playing within your own instrument that is part of that which sings to the universe. For we are all connected, and that which is singing through the universe now is seeking to be. I'm being shown like wanting to be heard, wanting to be played with, wanting to be expressed. It's like a higher essence of expression. For within these lower conduction points, these lower frequencies that many of us are used to listening to, there is a strum, if you will. There is a hum that is drowning out some of the frequencies that ultimately will lead us to self-doubt. So I'm going back to like a lot of us doubt because we aren't really able to hear what is, I'm hearing the sound behind the sound. What's really um, on our hearts. We're not necessarily able to really hear and listen to these other sounds because we're not used to listening to them. So oftentimes we ask for help and we do not know what to look for or how to listen because it has not been taught to us since birth, or we have not grown up listening for these things. Yet there are many children now that are open to these things and they are teaching the parents, if you will. And there are many children that are reading without their eyes and or listening without their ears, and we can learn from them, for they are not blocked necessarily by the lower frequencies that we are used to being encapsulated within. They are already above and beyond that which is beyond the skin, one might say. These are our sensory mechanisms that we have all been born with. Yet the density that is tightly packed in, that we are tightly wound up in, the tight winding that many of us find ourselves in, the binding, is what holds us into a certain template, a certain reality construct, our beliefs and rigidity or rigid structures of listening, or what we are templated in to listen to, meaning our habits, are making it difficult for some to see through this fabric or hearing falsetto of reality, the falsetto, the falset, the falsity that many of us are living in. And so we invite you to listen. We invite you to go into your own inner recognition that allows you to focus on what is within, what it is that makes us sing, what it is that makes us spin, meaning this has to do with physics and the rate of density and the speed and the opening that is happening within your capillaries, one might say. We would invite you to not necessarily get hooked on putting a thinking cap on, to think outside of your thinking cap and being shown like graduation and everybody throwing their caps. Like, what if we could just like go beyond just thinking, like combine all of it, what we've learned, to become graduates, to really tune into self-mastery. And while it is difficult to stay in this space all of the time, we would invite you to tune in as often as you can, or sometimes, and then eventually move into most of the time so that you can tune into and get the most out of this new time. For again, as we are interacting with this frequency, this new version of reality, the old version that was interlaced with complacency and lack of vitality and individuality, although guy under the guise of I'm being shown like there's this idea that I must be unique. I am an individual. That's important. But we think we're being unique, but in reality, we're following the same fashion, we're following the same protocols, we're following the same education that everybody else had. So there is this like, they're saying that there's an energy that's unique to each and every one of us, like our fingerprint, but a lot of people aren't tuning into it. Little light language. Ko asheo makaine wa ao ku ai shihik inehe. So we would invite you to tune into synchronicity. We would invite you to unlock your vocabulary. We would invite you to get out of the old dynamic. Is the plan words dynamic? Okay, I'm being called to stop for just a moment. Okay, so just playing with that, like that's a double meaning. Like it's to be able to like get out of this idea that this is how it works and to get out of there's it's power, right? So to get out of this old energetic, and it says figurative sense of being active, potent, or energetic. So it's like get out of the old dynamic that and get into the new dynamic, find your own inner power, your own inner source. E shikuaie amakai ini kuku ish ikaidi hai wawa ane. Just as in this moment, I am expressing to you the light language or the fluency of this particular form of energy in the form of voice, pattern, and communication, we would invite you to tune into your own inner communication that may not sound or look this way. It is subjective to some, but it is deeper and it goes into the very core and the essence of who we were before to who we are now. We have made a leap in time, one might say. And so it is time to take the leap. It is time to feel into and open to this massive energy that is surging through the human, that is surging through the earth, that is surging through the new version of reality that we are all interweaving and connecting with and through. We are inviting you to ask, what is it that I am through with? What is it that I have come through? What is it that I have wished to let go of so that I can move through this next series of obstacles from one perspective and overcome from another perspective these obstacles. And these obstacles are merely obstacles based on our perspective. So I'm seeing people jumping over hurdles. When we jump over or through these hurdles, we take with us our experiences that we have found important to us. We all begin to learn more. And through this, we open more doors in which to feel the potential and the fullness of where we are and how far we have come. For many of us are choosing to come back to the same door over and over again. And in a turnstile format, we go back and turn back to the same style that we have been formatted in time and time again. And this is psychological programming. This is how I'm hearing history repeats itself. This is how history repeats itself. We do not always realize that we are being systematically put back in our place, if you will, through the programming that has held us in a place. I'm seeing a bookmark in a book holding space. It keeps us from looking forward in the most advanced way. It keeps us looking forward from a pathological way. And let us play with this for a moment. We begin to look and read our book in a very old-fashioned way, when in reality, we may be able to see reality completely outside of the book that we have been carrying with us. So what I'm being shown is like reading a book linearly, or whereas some kids can put like what was his name, the Sleeping Prophet, Edgar Casey, like he could sleep on the book and then remember the book. I think it was Edgar Casey, the Sleeping Prophet. So what they're showing me is that we're adapting and we're already accessing like our innate technology if we would just listen, but we have teachers who are indoctrinated in a particular style, and I'm going back to turnstile and technique of interpretation, that they are telling us, no, that's not how you do things. You have to do things this way. And this is very much in alignment with uh, people who are on the spectrum, people who are there's different abilities that people have, and I can't remember the names of what they are all labeled as, but they don't do things the linear way because they don't have to, or that's just not the way they operate. Right? They weren't born that way, or some people have developed these skills, and other people are saying you can't do that. That's not possible. And they're like, well, I'm doing it. So they're kind of showing me like that's starting to crumble and fall apart. But we have to trust ourselves and stay in our hearts to stay coherent enough to understand that that's what's happening. And that's just one version of the message. When I say stay in the heart, we are also connecting our thinking caps in our brain, but we're doing it through beyond the um linearity of just left brain analytical thinking. We're combining the mechanisms in our brain, we're combining our mechanics, and I'm going back to this, and it becomes less mechanical and methodical, and it becomes more expansive and magical. And we're combining all of that to increase our power. And that goes back to dynamic. We are sharing this as words of encouragement. For many people feel let down with their inability to understand reality. Many people are looking at the reality that is looming around them, and they are seeking to escape it because innate within the human is the knowingness that we have the capacity to know more. We have a capacity that many people are not making the connection with of these higher frequencies. We have the ability for telepathy, as a for instance, and people are not, they're remembering inside that there's something missing. And so people feel often as if something is missing in their lives, for they have not necessarily tuned into incoherently to their own inner reality. They have separated body and mind. They have separated heart from thoughts. They have separated fingertips from hair. They have separated, put compartmentalized and broken things down into pieces, not recognizing that it is all one living organism. There is no separation. And so once we begin to come back into this deeper reverberation, we remember the frequency that hums through our innate technology. We begin to drown out the humming that is the background noise, one might say, or the distracting noise or the distraction that has been preferential for so many eons and so many years. I'm being called to play with that. And we come back to interacting with our reality in a much more cohesive and coherent way. We begin to view Mother Nature in a different way. We begin to look at each other and view each other in a more compassionate way. We begin to listen to one another and hear what is really going on instead of producing a mechanical reaction. And I'm hearing mechanical. So it's like habit based on the mechanics of what we've been doing. It constantly produces, let's say, cortisol. So we're responding from our template with heightened cortisol and heightened, it's like we can't listen, we got to do this, we got to do that, look over here, look over there. And then what happens is we miss the point, is what I'm hearing. I'm being shown when you have like one of those laser pointers, like a cat, and they're like, choo, 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 choo. It's like that's what's happening for a lot of us right now. I know I feel that way sometimes too, but so with all of these changes that are happening in our bodies, many of us are missing the point. We are being pointed in a direction of the old to help to stabilize that story because that story has grown cold for us. And so this false sense of warming up the past, if you will, is causing us to feel left out in the cold because we are not that which we have been told. And so, as we begin to recognize that what we are being told no longer starts our fire, if you will, no longer warms our hearts, we begin to look for different things that are, in some cases, creating a false start. So, I'm being shown like, I'm going to do this because it would make me happy. But we're basing that choice off of something that we think would make us happy, but it's not really what makes us happy, right? So instead of really going within and taking the time to meditate and setting our intention to ask ourselves, what would make me happy right now? And I'm hearing working through the weeds to find the seeds that are already planted within. So there are many who are clearing out those weeds, and it is a bonfire that is being that is burning, and it is feeling we are all of us encased in the smoke, one might say. But also some are encased in smoke and mirrors, and some are encased in the smoke signals because they are sending out different energies into the universe. What smoke signals are we sending out? I'm being called, that's like a card. I'm seeing like, SOS, right? Or when we sage the house, or our intention when we do that is to clear the energy. I'm seeing like people just like I'm done, just light it up. But part of this is it's an inner burning, a fire inside of us that we're like, what now? Right? But I'm hearing what now versus what next. It's like, what right now? So it's being present. And we will make this a short combustion, if you will, in this particular composition, in this particular compilation and play on words. For we would like to bust through the old paradigm and invite you to chalk up your experiences and begin to calculate where it is you are in life. We would begin to ask you what makes you salivate? Where are the taste buds that once were? What is this vibrancy that many of us feel as if we are disconnected from? And we would invite you to not run away from yourselves and not run towards the false light, one might say, the pointer that is directing us towards a fight or towards, I'm seeing like, some people want to fight because it makes them feel alive, right? Because that's what they're lacking. So they get this fire and they feel I'm hearing emboldened, but I'm seeing like yeah, I'm hearing bamboozled though. So again, it's like sometimes we need that fire and or anger or frustration to get us to move, to light a fire under our tuchus. But what I'm being shown is it once that burns out, then what? So feel it now and recognize that part of the reason people are looking for that is because they want to feel alive. Also, that is usually a step for movement because they have felt um, immovable, like stagnant. So it's like looking to break them free of the stagnation, but realizing that there is a deeper energy called bliss, called love, joy, compassion, and it doesn't have to be these intense passionate, fiery flames all of the time. There is a state of coherence, which is, I'm being called just to remind everybody what I'm so just kind of playing with coherence. The word coherence, I'm on AI overview on Google, comes from the Latin word meaning to stick together. Um, okay. So a lot of the things I share in these channelings and writings, you guys. So if you're interested in my writing, I do a lot of posts on Instagram too. I keep a simple star seeds, and I also am trying to update my blog a little bit more often. Thank you, Joy. But anyways, the root is compare, so it's to stick together or to adhere. So it's not just, and I'm going to get to heart coherence in a minute because that's a little bit of a different meaning. So essentially what they're showing is that to stay together, like we don't need to fall apart. Sometimes we have to fall apart in order to get back together, right? But it's connection. It's connected, consistent, and unified. And I'm going to go a little deeper into that just for a moment. So I talk about heart coherence a lot because of heart math and what coming from my yoga background, that's what I learned in meditation was this heart coherence. You breathe in for 5 counts, you breathe out for 5 counts. But if you look at what coherence means just in physics, waves, and I put with waves specifically because we're all waves, it's all frequency, that maintain a constant phase difference and have the same frequency. I'm going to stop right there because this doesn't mean we're not individuals and we're not unique and we're not expressing ourselves in a very beautiful, different array of snowflake patterns, right? If you look at snowflakes, they're each beautiful, but they're all snow. They just look different. Each one has a different, but it's consistently the same. It's consistent in order, or it wouldn't be a snowflake, right? And it talks about frequency, stable interference, and a source of coherence, which I won't go into all of that. Um, but essentially, it means this. It's smooth, right? And so rather than being extreme high and extreme low, can we kind of find a little bit more of that balance so that we're not being pulled constantly in another person's shape? So it's like, well, I have to look like that, or I have to be like this, or No, we just go within. And sometimes we might be called to look like that or to be like that or to practice the same thing. But each of us is finding these unique blueprints within. And we were all gifted with a different perspective because of our experiences. Um, and some people are going to be really big with their energy, and some people are going to be really soft with their energy. But finding that togetherness and unification within this unique expression and experience is key because the majority of human beings are looking towards finding joy, peace, abundance, health and well-being. And, let's say we don't agree all on the same thing, but we can all agree that we want to be healthy, right? We can all agree that we'd like our children and grandchildren to have a beautiful earth to live on. We don't necessarily agree how that looks because we're not tuning into the sound behind the sound. And we're not tuning into, there's certain things I'm hearing behind the scenes, power, greed, resources, all of that. But that's only a story that we have believed and that has been projected into our reality that we've interwoven with. And now we are recognizing that, maybe we don't need that in order to have bliss or joy. Maybe this idea that has been presented to us, and I'm being shown the irony in this is you've got two sides that are fighting, and the irony is it's usually under the same top. Just looks like we disagree. So there's a lot going on. But again, rather than giving into this split, what happens when cells split? There come, that third cell merges, and we then say we combine these frequencies. So we would invite you to tune into what it is. I'm hearing the coherent geometry that allows us to create a future together in togetherness that allows us to work together and operate from a much higher frequency that then bends the rules of reality in such a way that we create a new reality together through creative abundance, creative resources, and we reprogram or create new patterns and programs within which to access the sources that we all have access to. In addition to that, we begin to remember, this goes back to the beginning of the video, that we are already sourced with those sources. It is already inside of us. For any thought that we have ever had, or any thought that we will ever connect into, has already been accessed, one might say, for we are a collective of frequencies. And when we tune into the harmonies and harmonics in which these energies are charged from, we can then charge forward in a new thinking pattern connected to heart coherence that allows us to find the thought patterns that are coherent within our structure of our new reality, which then brings in new concepts, which then puts us on a new trajectory that allows us to get out of complacency and find that higher heart harmonic that is filled with compassionate eloquency. And this is the play on words. I'm being shown don't forget that compassion has the word passion in it. And also I'm hearing the word compression. So it's about these waves. And then we begin to, I'm seeing disconnect, we unhook from this old, I'm hearing centennial. Is that like a matrix? I think they were called centennials or something. Like we're unhooking from this and we're moving into this new, I'm hearing new century, but that's a play on words. I'm seeing so much. So I'm just going to end on that note though, because I could keep going and going and going. Lots of high energies coming in. Hopefully someone found this fun or helpful or expansive. And thank you so much for liking and sharing these videos, you guys. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you. And in love and light, namaste.